should start recording.
Either way, there's if you want to grab like footage of the game on all 8, there is the public booth with the game running as well, so you can see it in German or change language and see like players playing with it, and you're gonna have staff over there as well to show you the game. Yeah. So hi, how familiar are you guys with the Gilde series? Do you know it a little bit or not at all?
Well, no, I have some ideas. I'm not familiar with the game.
Okay, I can run through quickly what the game is about. So the Gilde is a realistic medieval strategy game set in Northern Europe in the 1400s. So it's a realistic game. It's not about, you know, magic swords and skeletons. It's a game where you're building a dynasty. And as a head of your family, the point is to amass wealth and power so that you become like the ruler of the area that you're in. So you can do that by being ruthless and finding other people and killing your enemies. Or you can do this through business or through political alliances or through stuff like that. There's a lot of different possibilities in the game. The game is quite complex. Some people play it as a simulation, some people play it as almost like an RPG or a strategy game. So there are many ways that you can tackle the game. What we're going to show you today is a functional build of the game. It is in between interface versions, so you're going to see some interface elements that are more streamlined, more modern, and some are that were with the old style. So we are changing the interface into something that is more consistent with the new style. And we just announced on Tuesday morning that we're going to be at the end of September releasing on Steam through early access. So that we can get the community involved into the last stretch of development, have their feedback on it, and yeah. So I'm going to quickly go through the, like you can see that this is the old style of the interface. So you create your character pretty much like a typical game. This is going to be your first dynasty leader. This character is going to learn some skills, he's going to grow old, eventually he's going to die either from age or from being poisoned or killed or whatever. When that happens, it's not the end of the game. It is only the end of the game if you do not have a succession. So one of the main goals of the game is that you need to form a family, you need to have heirs. When your character dies, you continue playing as your daughter, as your son, and so forth and so on. Some people have been playing for hundreds of years with the same family, going through generation to generation like that. You keep your titles, you keep your wealth, your skills, and you continue essentially playing the game. Now, if you've known the prior Gilde series before, you can rest assured that we've kept all of the complexity of the game. So the game is a very the game is a very complex game, and we did not want to dumb it down, we did not want to simplify everything. But what we wanted to do was to present all of that complexity in a way that's going to be useful for new players as well. Because a lot of times in games like these, there's a lot of things to learn, there's a lot of things to consider. Something's going to happen, you're not sure how to react to it, is it good, is it bad, you know, what should I do now? So what we're doing is that when you're starting the game in normal mode, let's call it that, you start out as a commoner. You have very few possibilities. You know some skills, you can craft some items, you can do some basic actions, and you're starting outside of the city gate. So you're starting in a little village, decided at random, okay, so I'm here. So I have, you know, my market nearby, a church, just a couple of businesses, and I'm outside of the city limits. So when I start, it's a more enclosed area. It's easier to know where things are. You can essentially do practice runs of going to the market, crafting items, starting to make a profit, starting to know your business path. And by doing that outside, you do it in a more controlled environment. Afterwards, when you're going to move inside, essentially the city space, then things become, start to become exponentially more complex. You have more interactions, more businesses. We wanted to create an environment that looked and felt alive. We wanted to create cities that looked like they were as much as possible. These are all based on historical, real places. This is MAGST height. These are all based on the cities. We changed them some to rescale them and make them appropriate, but we tried to be as historically accurate as we could within the confines of the game. So, as I I started the game, this is the skill tree. I started the game and it shows essentially the 3 stages of the game. When you start and you're a commoner, you're outside, you're doing some skills, so it plays pretty much like an RPG. Then when you become a citizen, you're learning to be a human right now. When you become a citizen, this is when you get to start interacting with the city. You're opening up businesses, you have employees. So the game turns into more of a management kind of game. You have employees doing the things that you were doing before. You get to open new businesses, you get to manage trade routes, stuff like that. Up until the point where you become a noble, this is when you get more involved in politics. You get to involve with your relationship with the other dynasties, where your relationship with the rest of the city becomes very important. Because the actions that you do as a noble, everyone knows you, so they have more consequences than if you're like a nobody, like right now. No one really cares if you've been caught doing pickpocketing, you're gonna have a fine, you're gonna go to jail. But if you're the city mayor and you're caught stealing from someone else, then the consequences can be very, very difficult for you. In the later stages of the game, this is the political tree. Players familiar with the Gilde series are going to recognize some of these elements, organized in groups of 3. And yeah, but I'm going to go back to my character outside. If I go inside my house, in Guild 2 and Guild 1, you had to start opening businesses, to start producing items. In Guild 3, we wanted to start the player doing things right away, so I can make basic products already in my house. You cannot make advanced things that you would develop with more, with a higher skill, but you can make basic products right now with basic components, go to the market, sell them, and bring them back. When you go to the market, send my character there right now, you're going to see that there's a lot more components, a lot more things that you can create. As I'm walking in the city, you're going to see sometimes a group of NPCs. They're going to be interacting in various ways. You're going to see people fighting in the streets. You're going to see teachers walk around, educating students, stuff like that. It's not just to create images for the city. It gives you an idea of the personality of where you are. You wanted to create an environment that felt alive, and the NPCs are there to show you what kind of neighborhood that you're in. If you're in a crime-ridden, low part of the city, there's going to be drunks on the floor leaving the tavern, there's going to be stuff like that. Whereas if you're in the noble's quarter, they're going to be behaving in a different way. And it tells you a little bit, what kind of businesses you can do there, what kind of actions you can do there. So you could buy, various transports to help you move around. There's like dozens and dozens, more than 100 different items that you can craft, do, and that's on top of all of the various actions that you can unlock, all of the skills and bonuses and stuff like that. So the game can be very, very complex. And to manage that complexity, we're bringing it one step at a time so that in later stages of the game, all the complexity is there, but it was built on blocks that you sort of understood and made sense one at a time. So we're supporting up to 32-player multiplayer, 16 human, 16 AI, and we're going to be, like I said, releasing at the end of September in early access, and then a few months after that for real, pretty much. So that's my basic 10-minute pitch. Do you have any questions at this time, or comments, or stuff that you would like me to focus on more? Yes.
You mentioned that you are able to craft things.
Yes.
Can I be also a farmer, for example?
You can be a farmer and then grow your components and then sell them to the market. It just takes time. You can be more, there's 4 different paths that you can start from. So handicraft is the basic one, the straight one. You can be a farmer. You can be more of an intellectual kind of character. So you start in the herbalist sphere, where you can go grab some herbs at the grove or things like that, and you can become a medicus, or you can become an apothecary. Or the 4th path is the rogue path, where you can do, you can fight with people, you can do pickpocketing. And when you open, when you start from a path, this is not a narrow thing that you are forced to stay in. You can develop skills, and you should develop various skills and be able to combine them. So you can start as a farmer, grow your food, bring your components to your bakery so that you can make bread, bring that to your innkeeper, have guards from your rogue, so you can like assemble these various professions together and combine their effects to have a more optimal production run.
And I will be able to also buy houses in the towns.
You can buy houses, you can buy businesses, you can buy existing buildings, or you can construct new ones. You're also able to attack and eventually maybe destroy opponents' buildings. It's illegal, of course, and if you're caught and you have not bribed the elected officials, you could go to jail or even be sentenced to death for doing things that are too dangerous or illegal. But yes, you can interact and possess buildings in the city. It's one of the points of the game.
So you mentioned the fact that there will be songs, of course, because for the set.
There will be what?
Like sons or daughters.
Songs?
No, I mean
sons, children.
Yeah, of course.
Ah, okay.
Sorry,
children.
so the dynasty, you know.
Yes,
You
yes,
tell
yes.
us that if your player dies, but the dynasty is still.
You have three ways to create your dynasty. First way is the role-playing version. So go on the street, find a nice girl, and make her compliments, give her presents. Do all the stuff with love talk, whatever. Take time, take money, whatever. Or you can use the strategic part of the game. So go to another opponent dynasty and say, okay, man, I have 5,000 coins. You have a beautiful daughter. Let's share. So it's not that you buy the daughter, but it's an exchange of values.
Business arrangement.
Business arrangement is a good word, right? We call it a trade return. So, and then you can marry her instantly. Or the third way is, let's say you got sick or you were poisoned and you know that you die in a few years. Then you go to the church and give the church a good bunch of money, and then you can adopt an orphan. The orphan is not as good as own children, but you can continue playing. So when you lost your last heir, so no children, and you lose your avatar, then you lost the game.
As long as there's someone else to continue the line, you continue playing.
Yeah, I was just curious how. That was very clear.
Yeah. Okay.
And normally through marriage you can have multiple children. So you can select one of them to be your heir, and the other ones you can trade them in marriage so that it forms alliances with other families. You can send them to the court of the faraway king to increase your reputation. You can send them to war or international travel. So as your family increases, you can use them as assets like that for more power and more leverage.
So you also mentioned the possibility to attack another nobleman, attack their building. So is there any chance, any possibility to build a kind of an army, or?
Well, you can have guards. You can have henchmen in your house and guards in your houses that are going to be there to protect against intrusive actions. But this is not an RTS kind of archers and fighting in kind of game. When there's wars, there is such a thing as war, but war is far away. Like it's outside the city, and you're not playing the war directly. You can participate in war, but you're not playing it. Inside the city, you're going to have to guard your buildings, and then they're going to be fighting in the street against
groups. So it's not armies like, let's say, groups of 12 against 12, for example, to say something. But it's not only attacking buildings or your opponents. You can poison them. You can throw bombs. You can bring them in jail or force judges to execute them. There are a lot of ways. Thousands of ways.
Normally players prefer to go underhanded, because if you're caught doing something very bad, then it can be the consequences can be bad for you. So you're going to use, you can smear them, you can break their reputation, you can fight them in various ways.
Yeah.
Is it possible to see the medium bound
Frage auf Deutsch.
Ja, es ist möglich, den Familienbaum sich anzugucken.
Yeah.
Vor allem nach ein paar.
Can you please restart?
Yeah.
As you may notice, we have a freeze at the moment. There is a silly bug that we didn't found last week during all of our tests. And we noticed this damn bug on Tuesday. So you just restart the build and then you see, but there's nothing to see at the moment because you have just your character inside the tree.
But it is possible.
Yeah, sure. You can see the family tree, you see your wife and your children, and
Also
then,
after a few
and then you see your
generations.
grandfather and whatever. So you see them. But the family tree concentrates on the main part of the family. So when your first son is your heir and you play further with your heir, you don't see the families of his brothers and sisters. So we had this, but it explodes the tree. So we decided to concentrate on this. We learned from Guild 2. In Guild 2 we had this, but at a specific point in the game, the family tree causes crashes, and we want to avoid this. Right?
Well, no, we want to have problems.
There were no problems with Guild 2.
No, it was running smoothly.
Yeah, we're still maintaining it, but it works.
Is there a question? I thought you were interested.
Okay. Not every, or as you see here, you start as a pro fellow in a village outside the city. But for a quick game, let's say in the evening hours after you come back from work and you want to play for 3-4 hours and then go to bed, we include another game mode which is called career mode. In Guild 1 and Guild 2 you start with a profession and were able to erect first business buildings. The career mode is exactly that. So you start with the citizens right inside the city with a profession, and you can start right away and go into politics and have all the fun stuff. But a lot of fans ask for this game or for the poor fellow mode. They want to start the game from the bottom and then race to the top. But it took time.
I played one game in Guild 2 or Guild 1 for about months.
I received a save game from Guild 2 Renaissance some years ago with more than 200 real-time hours, and it was the year 2017 or so. I'm not sure, but it was nice, it was very strange. And it worked.
So the multiplayer part, is it jump in, jump out multiplayer, or do I have to start with my friend and end?
If you host the game, it's more or less like a single player game, but with human participants. So the way JR and his team from Golden Labs created the Guild 3 is that even the single player game is a multiplayer game with just one participant. So you host the multiplayer game and your friends join, and then you end and save the game. And the next day when you want to restart playing with your friends and one or two of your friends have no time, then you assign an AI to this and they maintain the family. So
it's also possible to start a single player game?
No, sorry, you have to host the multiplayer game.
Okay.
And if one or two of your friends have no time, you can assign an AI for this. So that next time when they join, they can continue playing. But no, they can't step in when in a running game. This is possible. This is not possible. So. Did you show the first person mode?
Well, I bought the building.
A lot of players ask us or said, okay, the cities are really beautiful, we want to see them in very close view. And we have pre-beta testers for some months, and especially the female testers like to play in the first person mode, and you're more or less able to play the complete game in first person. It's a goodie, it's not designed for this kind, but it works.
All of the same action, like right there. every map as well as a Schloss castle where the sovereign lives. Now the sovereign is not some faraway character. The player can actually become the sovereign. And when I talked about, you know, there's always a new thing that happens. You can, like, you eventually go to business management, you eventually go to politics, you eventually, like, you unlock all of these things. When you become a sovereign, if you become a sovereign, this is not the end of the game. The only way to really end the game, if you can have life goal, like if you're in a multiplayer game, you're the only human left standing, you won, but you can continue playing. If you become the sovereign, you can continue playing, and there is new things that you can do. You can wage war against outside sovereigns, you can raise taxes, you can like use various powers of the office. Just like political offices have powers themselves. You're going to see that they're arranged in a group of 3. Each group is responsible for a loan management of the city. So this group, for instance, is responsible for every time that someone steals something, like pickpocketing or stealing from a house, they're going to be judged by these judges. And they are responsible for the town crier. So if we're playing a multiplayer game and I'm against you, and I know that you've stolen something, like every week the town crier is going to go to town and say, remember that family so-and-so has been caught stealing, and blah, blah. So your reputation with the neighborhood is going to be kept down for a longer period of time. Whereas if it was me that was caught stealing, for some strange reason, the town crier is not going to say anything, and people are going to forget about it more. The reputation of the people can become quite important in later stages, because if you are hated very, very much, the population can rise up against your family, go to your house with torches and pitchforks, and ride you out of town. So this is not something that will happen if you're a commoner. You are not important enough for that. But if you are like a noble or someone a notable of the city, it can go all the way to that. So managing your reputation is something that is, you know, becoming more and more important as you go forward. Just like managing your reputation with the other dynasties, because they can have like a lot of power over you if you're caught doing something that is bad, and most players eventually end up doing something bad.
When I get thrown out of town, the game isn't over. I can come back.
If you have money, you can. If there's multiple towns, you can. You can buy a new house somewhere else. But you can continue playing. You're just going to have burned down your house, and it satisfies everyone a little bit like they had their revenge. So if you buy a new house, they're not going to burn it down right away. But if you continue doing bad stuff, then yeah, they're going to like continue rising up against your family, and eventually it just becomes impossible to continue playing because everyone hates you all the time. But this is a small map where we have just one city. So it's a very small scenario. We can have maps that have multiple cities, multiple villages around cities. We can make maps that are 16 times the size of maps of Gilde 2. So we can make very, very large maps. They're not very practical, so we're not making them like that because it takes a very long time in Gainsay term to walk from one end to the other. Even if you have a horse, or if you have a faster means of transport, it still takes a lot of time to travel. But in a few months, we're going to be releasing the same map editor that we're using to create the maps. We're going to release that to the community as well, so that they can create maps. And we're going to see from that point what they're going to be creating in their hometown. We're going to continue supporting the game, of course, and creating official maps, but we're going to give to the community the tools to create their own maps as well.